Hello, good morning, everyone. Today we're going to cover the topic of tracking things, which is so important because what you track, you pay attention to, and therefore you increase your odds for success in that area. It seems pretty basic, but a lot of us don't track things, starting with your goals. You know, in the 3x5 system, you're basically tracking your progress and your goals. That's upside down. So you're writing stuff down and you're filling out, you've got your to-do list and your daily, monthly, and one main goal on the other side. And doing that every day, you're tracking your progress. So it's this idea, and maybe you've heard of it, but Seinfeld did this episode where he has this calendar and he's tracking something. I can't remember what it is. It has to do with his comedy, his goals or something. And he has this basic calendar, takes this giant red marker and he puts an X through it every day that he does that thing, that item that he's planned to do. And people ask him about it. He says that it is a tracking system. Very simple. It's just a big red X on a paper calendar. So that's his system for tracking. And what it does is every time he looks at that calendar, he sees all these X's in a row, and the last thing he wants is to break that progress. So it's like a chain, and every day it pushes him to do that one thing so he can put the X down so he doesn't have a break in his pattern. So I had the same type of experience with this app that I use for meditation called Calm. If you haven't used it before, if you're not sure about a good meditation app, I highly recommend it. CALM. Just go to the App Store and type Calm, I guess. They've got a lot of great meditations that they walk you through. I like to put it on before going to bed. It's very relaxing. Gets me in the mode for a deep sleep right away. And Calm tracks every day that you do a meditation. It tracks the number of minutes that you do and the total number of days in a row, which is interesting because first time I saw that, I don't remember how many days in a row. It was a few weeks or something, and I'm like, oh wow, I've got like 20 something days in a row that I've been doing this, and automatically it made me want to not break that chain because it puts a little circle around the number on the calendar of all the days that you've done this meditation. I think I got up to like 89, and it became like this thing where I would always check it, and I don't know why, but there's some mental game that when we're tracking our progress, something kicks in and our brain goes, oh, you know, I don't want to ruin that. I've got a good streak going on, and I don't want to mess it up. And then something happened, and there was a day that I missed, that I was not able to do it or forgot or something. I think I was camping. I don't remember. And anyway, so what that did was it broke the chain. So I like the Seinfeld streak method to a certain point, but you have to be careful because as soon as you break the chain, the tendency is for me to say, and I felt this, I went exactly through this. I broke the chain. Oh well. Now it's not as big of a commitment. Now it's not as big of a deal for me to do this. And so what that had was a negative or an inverse effect. Now I didn't care as much because I just started at 0. I'm like, all that work, I was at 89 in a row, and now I'm at 1 again. 1, 2, 3, and you know it's gonna be 3 months before I get to my record. It's so far out. You know, I've already broken it. Now it's just a hit and miss. So then, from that point on, it was stagger. It was like I'd do 3 days and I'd miss a day, and I'd do 5 days and I'd miss a day, because it wasn't that big of a deal. I wasn't even close to my record. And it was interesting, the psychology behind that all. Because the streak I love. I think that's such a great principle. But I think if we're not careful, it can also have a negative effect on us. So those are some of my thoughts on tracking. You've got to have some kind of a system to track your progress. And I love the simplicity of just a red X on a calendar. It's so simple, right? But don't get so caught up on that one big thing, aka, you know, so many days in a row. Yes, let that be a reward, let that be a driver, but if you mess up, you simply start over. Okay, you don't let that trip you up, and you don't let the discouragement of messing up one day get in the way of the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? So sometimes we get caught up so much on, okay, so I've got all these days in a row I messed up, boom. You know, we're kind of like, it's a little bit tunnel vision, I think. And we get into the weeds a little bit, and we lose track of the bigger picture. The bigger picture is you're forming a habit. You're trying to do something every day such that it becomes natural, second nature to you, so you don't even think about it anymore. That's the bigger picture. You can still do that by messing up a day here and there. Okay, not regularly, but every once in a while, as long as you're consistent and you get right back on track if you mess up, that doesn't affect the bigger final outcome. And that's what you've got to keep track of when you're tracking goals and doing things like this. You've got to remember the bigger picture. So there are some golfers that figured this out. They understood that on average they mess up. There are so many swings during a game that they mess up on that are just bad shots. And instead of getting all worked up and angry and, you know, wrapping their clubs around a tree trunk, every time they would have one of those bad shots, they would simply say to themselves, "There's one of them." And they were able to move on because they gave them some permission to fail. They understood that that's part of the process and part of the game, that nobody's perfect. You can't have a perfect streak that just goes on forever. You might have a good streak, a good long run of doing your let's say your goals, or writing whatever down, or whatever habit you're trying to form. You can have a very good streak that could go on for a long time. But if that is everything to you, then as soon as you mess up, it tears apart the whole system and your habit breaks back down. So step back, do the streaks, that's great. Track yourself and look at your progress and challenge yourself to get as many days in a row as you can. But also remember the bigger picture, that it's much, much more important than getting 100 days in a row is the habit that you're forming. And you can form a habit imperfectly. Imperfection is normal. Everybody does it. There's nobody that's perfect. All the successful people that have been out there, they've had bad days. They've had days where they messed up. They've had days where they fell. Days where they said, you know what? Today's dumb, whatever. I'm not doing it today. Or don't make that the norm, but understand that if that happens every once in a while, it's okay. Just reset, recommit, get back on track. Everything's going to be just fine.